There lived a humble and wise Buddhist monk named Bhante Sujata. He was renowned throughout the land for his wisdom, compassion, and his ability to teach profound life lessons through simple yet profound stories. His presence radiated tranquility and inner peace, attracting people from far and wide to seek his guidance. One bright morning, as the sun painted the sky with shades of gold and orange, a young man named Ananda arrived at the village. Ananda was burdened with a heart heavy with expectations. He had journeyed for days, seeking answers to the questions that had been tormenting his mind for far too long. Ananda had always believed that happiness could be found in others. He expected his family, friends, and even strangers to fulfill his desires, to make him feel complete. He sought approval, recognition, and validation from everyone around him. Yet, despite the love and care he received, he felt empty and discontented. One day, Ananda heard about Bhante Sujata's wisdom and decided to visit the monk in the hopes of finding the answers he sought. With a heart full of anticipation, he climbed the winding path up the hill to the humble monastery where Bhante Sujata resided. Upon reaching the monastery, Ananda was greeted by a warm smile from Bhante Sujata, who had been expecting him. Ananda felt an immediate sense of comfort and began pouring out his troubles, explaining how he had placed the weight of his happiness on the shoulders of others. Bhante Sujata listened patiently, his eyes reflecting the depths of his understanding. After Ananda had finished sharing his tale of woe, Bhante Sujata offered a gentle nod. "Ananda," he began, "I understand the pain you carry, for it is a burden that many of us bear at some point in our lives. But I have a story to share with you, one that I hope will illuminate the path to true happiness." With that, Bhante Sujata invited Ananda to join him in the peaceful garden behind the monastery. They sat on a stone bench, surrounded by the fragrance of blooming flowers and the chirping of birds. Bhante Sujata began his tale. 1. The lonely lotus. In a distant land, there once grew a lotus flower of unparalleled beauty. Bhante Sujata began. This lotus resided in a pond surrounded by other aquatic plants and creatures. Its petals glistened like the morning dew, and its fragrance attracted bees and butterflies from afar. Ananda listened intently as the monk continued. This lotus, Ananda, was a symbol of perfection in its own right. However, it was not satisfied with its own beauty. It longed for the admiration of those who passed by the pond. It expected others to acknowledge its splendor and declare it the most exquisite lotus in the pond. "But Bhante," Ananda interjected, "isn't it natural for something so beautiful to seek recognition and admiration?" Bhante Sujata smiled kindly. "Ah, my dear Ananda, you've already started to see the heart of the issue. Let me continue." 2. The yearning for recognition. As days turned into weeks, the lotus's yearning for recognition grew stronger. Bhante Sujata continued. It watched as the humans passing by the pond admired the colorful fish, the vibrant water lilies, and the graceful swans, but they hardly noticed the lotus. Ananda could feel the lotus's pain as if it were his own. He imagined the lotus with its exquisite petals, feeling overlooked and unappreciated. Indeed, Bhante Sujata continued, the lotus's expectation of recognition weighed it down like an anchor. It began to droop, its once vibrant petals losing their luster. The very beauty it had once possessed began to wither away. Ananda nodded in understanding, for he too had experienced the heavy burden of unfulfilled expectations. 3. The wisdom of the turtle. One day, a wise old turtle who lived in the pond approached the lotus. Bhante Sujata said. The turtle had observed the lotus's suffering and understood its desire for recognition. "What did the turtle say, Bhante?" Ananda asked eagerly. The turtle told the lotus, Bhante Sujata continued, that seeking recognition and validation from others was a path to endless suffering. It explained that true happiness could only be found within oneself, in accepting one's own unique beauty and purpose. Ananda contemplated the turtle's wisdom, realizing that he had been on a similar quest for validation from others, just like the lotus. 4. The lotus's transformation. The lotus, upon hearing the turtle's words, began to ponder its own existence. Bhante Sujata said. It realized that its beauty was not defined by the opinions of others, but by its very essence. It understood that its purpose was to be a source of beauty and serenity, regardless of who noticed. Ananda leaned forward, his heart filled with anticipation. What happened next, Bhante? The lotus, Ananda, Bhante Sujata smiled, began to bloom once more, not for the approval of others, but for the joy of being true to itself. Its petals regained their luster, and its fragrance spread far and wide, attracting not only bees and butterflies, but also those who sought solace and beauty. Ananda marveled at the transformation of the lotus. He realized that he too had been seeking happiness in the wrong places, relying on others to validate his worth. 5. Ananda's epiphany. Bhante Sujata concluded the story saying, Ananda, the lotus in this tale represents you and all those who seek happiness through the approval and recognition of others. Just as the lotus discovered its true beauty within, so can you find inner peace and happiness by letting go of your expectations from others. Ananda sat in contemplation, the weight of his expectations now clear to him. He looked up at Bhante Sujata with gratitude. Thank you, Bhante, for sharing this beautiful story and helping me see the path to true happiness. Bhante Sujata nodded, his eyes filled with compassion. Remember, Ananda, the key to happiness lies within you. When you release your expectations from others and focus on being your authentic self, you will bloom like the lotus, radiating beauty and attracting those who appreciate your true essence. Ananda left the monastery with a newfound sense of purpose and determination. He knew that his journey to inner peace would not be easy, but he was inspired by the wisdom of Bhante Sujata and the story of the lonely lotus. He was ready to let go of his expectations and discover the beauty and happiness that resided within him all along. As Ananda descended the hill, he felt a lightness in his heart that he had never experienced before. He knew that his path would be filled with challenges, but he also knew that, like the lotus, he had the power to bloom and find true happiness from within. And so the story of Ananda and the lonely lotus became a legend in the village, a reminder to all who heard it that true happiness could only be found by releasing the heavy burden of expectations and embracing one's own unique beauty and purpose.